Hi guys, this is MJ, and for today's video, I'll be talking about how do you get close to an INTJ. Okay, so I actually made a video about other types too, and I'll be making more videos about the rest of the 16 types, so I'll try to make this short. Um, I think first things first, you can't really just slither your way into getting close with any type, and most especially with an INTJ. Um, I think it's important to remember that these things should happen organically, and I'll be giving some tips on how to do them. You know, one thing to remember that I say in other videos is that it's important to know whether the person that you're dealing with is actually an INTJ, someone who has NI, TE, FI, and SE in their cognitive function stack. Otherwise, of course, my advice might not, apply to the same person because they might not be their type, and there are a lot of mistype INTJs because of tests online and all that. So I think it's important to be honest with yourself and to really figure out first if you're dealing with one. Okay, so how do you get close with an INTJ? Um, how do you? Okay, so again, also one thing I guess that I would like to share. I'm friends with and have dated INTJs in the past. So I think besides the theory, it's also a combination of experiences in terms of my data gathering. um, it's how I've studied them or studied the types, and also how I know them in person. So honestly, I guess the simple way to get close to them is just be yourself. And this is why a lot of INTJs tend to mesh well with FI, DOMs, and auxiliary types like ENFPs and INFPs, because their candor appeals to them. It's a breath of fresh air. A lot of these types are just very, authentic, very unapologetically themselves, quote unquote. And that's why it appeals to their tertiary FI, which is very like childlike, I would say. I would consider their tertiary FI as kind of like a child that they're very protective of. So to get through an INTJ is to really appeal to that authentic self that they're looking for in people, because you have to understand that INTJs are very suspicious of people, similar to actually INFJs. I didn't actually mention this in the INFJ video, but it's like you're guilty until proven innocent. The same way that I talked about with INFJs, that you'll go through a series of tests and all that. It's the same with INTJs. You'll go through a series of intentional / unintentional tests, and you're essentially like kind of under the microscope. So I think it's best to just be honest. Really, that's really it. One of the things that I believe that would help you get close to an INTJ or get an INTJ to open up is, number one, prove yourself to be reliable and honest. I guess reliable, not so much in terms of like, if you want an INTJ to trust you with a work task, then you have to prove yourself to be reliable. But if it means getting close with an INTJ in a personal level, then just be real, because you don't want to waste their time for anything. They're busy living their life and doing their own things, planning things, and you wouldn't want to tell them that you'll do this, that you'll do that, you'll meet up with them at a certain day, and you don't show up or decide to cancel out. That's not gonna sit well with an INTJ, and they'll just think that you're full of shit. So they'd rather you tell them in advance and then also follow through with them. Okay, so at least that you'll somehow prove yourself to be reliable or trustworthy to a certain degree, if you're able to commit or commit to smaller tasks. Okay, second is it's not necessarily expressing interest in the things that they're interested in. I think it's different with an INFJ. In the advice that I gave with INFJs, it's not, they have very niche interests, and if you already happen to like the same things as an INTJ does, then congrats. That's one good way to kind of get, not really penetrate to their walls, but like kind of like, okay, you have something to talk about. You're somewhat of use. I'm kidding. I wasn't really entirely kidding that you're somewhat of use, but at least you'll be able to add something to the life of an INTJ, that you won't get from anywhere else. So that's one thing. On a more serious note, if you kind of want to get to know them on a personal level, you have to really set a time and place to actually talk about these things. When they open up, in the very, 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 very rare times that they open up, shed a tear or anything like that. Do not flinch. Do not judge them and don't make fun of them. Don't laugh. Don't do anything weird. Just listen. Just listen. Don't really offer unnecessary advice unless it's asked, or unless you're very close already with an INTJ. But you wouldn't be here if you're super close with them, right? Maybe no. So there, don't be quick to judge their views on things. INTJs are very weird people, and I'm saying this as an INFP. I'm weird, but they're weird in the same way that INFJs are weird, and I like weird things and weird people. But when I say they're weird, they're really fucking weird, I would like to think. So when you guys talk about weird things, do not judge them. Do not make fun of them at all. And this is coming from someone who's really encountered weird INTJs. They have very interesting things that they're into that you wouldn't expect from someone who's called a mastermind. So those things, when they start opening up about weird hobbies or weird interests, then just be open, be curious, and don't judge them. If you don't, then at least they'll be like, hey, I can maybe talk to them about weird things, right? So that's one way to kind of organically connect with an INTJ. Yeah, you can't get them to open up unless they decide to open up, essentially. So you have to really go through the long route, the long way home to the heart of an INTJ. Okay, third is be authentic. I've talked about this earlier, because disingenuity and sheepish behavior is something that will immediately turn them off. So if they notice that you're just going with the crowd, or you're like just going with the majority, or when you have choices in life that seems very questionable, they will sense that and they will see that and they will automatically like cut you off mentally. So how you are with them and how you are with other people is very important. You have to be consistent across all aspects of your life, because I'm talking about people who don't trust people. So to get through an INTJ, you have to consistently be the same and honest and sincere about all aspects of your life. Otherwise, it's done. You know, an INTJ will not let you in their life. Why would they? You know? So they're very, very guarded in the same way that INFJs are guarded, I would say. And yeah, if you do get in though, congrats. Lastly, I think it's the same thing that I also give to other introverts, like in INFJ. Respect their personal space. They're very particular and keen on their personal time. So if they're not talking to you for days and they're not responding, just let them know you're there. But don't ever try to get them to hang out with you against their will. An INTJ will snap. Well, not really snap out externally, but they will, slowly detach from you. Because that would mean to them that you're not respecting them or their me time. you know? And it's different from an INFP and an INFJ. I'm really talking about how they will take that shit personally. If you force them to go out to do something against their will and has been proven to be a waste of time, most especially, and they attended begrudgingly and has even ultimately made it more apparent to them that they're wasting their time, that they could be doing something else, like in their own little projects and in their own little world, then that will be adding a dent to your already barely existing friendship with an INTJ. And this is applies to people who are already friends with one or is dating one. You know, set a schedule with them, respect their time, and don't force them to do things that they don't want, especially when they're busy. So you have to ask them beforehand, you know. So time is of the essence. I think really that's it. So I hope that helped. If you have any more suggestions or questions or things that you'd like to add, please consider liking, subscribing, and commenting on the videos if you want. I have other videos that I'll be making. I've made INFP, INFJs, and I'll work on the other 16 types after. So after this, yeah, I do offer in-depth type assessments. I'll show you in the video after this, the clip. So if you're not sure if you're an INTJ, or if you're curious to know more about your type or whatever, book a session with me. Okay, bye! Follow me on my socials at MBTI Time on Instagram, Facebook, and Twitter. And if you're not sure if you're an INFP, INFJ, ENFP, INTJ, or any other type, book a typing session with me by visiting www.mbtitime.com. Links in the descriptions down below.